Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake along with Scott, and today we're getting back to the basics. And we want to first say thank you to Oak and Eden for creating this experience and creating this content for this podcast. They hit us up and they asked us if we would try their whiskey customizer, and we obliged. So we went over to oakandeden.com and we tried their whiskey customizer. We're going to taste these blind. Scott and I have not tried our whiskeys yet that we've created through the whiskey customizer. So we're excited to bring this episode to you today. So Scott, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. It's busy. It's been busy, but it's Derby week, and I know this episode will come out after Derby, but I was hoping for a really easy Derby week, but I'm not thinking that's going to happen.
No, never does. Never does.
So let's drink some whiskey.
Yeah, let's drink some whiskey. I'm headed out of town this week on Wednesday, and I know you're actually heading to the track.
Yeah, it sounds like my day's going to be a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I literally have an out and back. It's like I leave at 7:55 and I get back at like 4:45. So it's a.
That's not even long at all. Like you barely have enough time to eat lunch.
I'm literally going to do a lunch meeting and then go home. Awesome. But you know, when you have a little kid and you have a pregnant wife,
it's better to just be at home.
Yep. You just want to get home. So we're excited today. This bottle's been here for, 3 or 4 weeks. We've had ours. We finally got together and we were looking at the email from the nice PR lady who was like, hey, are you all going to try this? And we're like, oh, yeah, we need to do this. So thank you to the PR team. We truly appreciate it. And thank you, Oak and Eden, again for this opportunity tonight. So we have two experiences. We shared a little bit about what we picked via text message. So we didn't pick the same thing, but I had forgotten everything Scott told me purposely to get ready for this episode.
I kind of forgot what I had picked because it was a little over a month ago, right?
Yeah, a little over a month ago. And to be honest, I brought mine and set it down, and it's been sitting on this like little table next to this awesome puzzle here that I've been working on. And now I'm to the nitty gritty on the puzzle, but I've really not even looked at the bottles that I've set on the little side table. It's like, you know what that table is to the left of here? You know what that reminds me of? It's like when your mom was like, hey, you want a TV dinner? You want the Salisbury steak? You want the Hungry Man meal? And they fold that out in front of you and you'd eat your
Don't
Salisbury
spill
steak.
it on the couch.
Yeah. And Grandma had the couch with the plastic wrap on it.
Yeah, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you still better not spill it on the couch.
Oh,
right?
dude, because you know.
So that's your whiskey tasting table? Is that your prep table?
It's what it's become.
See, I've totally got unorganized because I've got 2 bars now. And then I've got an overflow, what I like to say. So like after I've tasted something, I try to move it to the overflow. Yeah. Unless it's really good, and then it stays on the bar so I can share it with somebody else, the next time or whatever. But now I go and look at my bar and I don't know where anything is. So yeah, sometimes bottles get lost, but this one came in a nice box. Yeah. So it was set to the side and ready to go. But so I guess we should probably start with who Oak and Eden is.
Yeah.
Right. So they've appeared on our page a few times. They previously had sent us some bottles to try.
The coffee one was the one that stood out to me.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one I really remember.
That was the cold brew soaked Spire. So for people that don't know, Oak and Eden is they basically buy whiskey that's aged, and then they take their oak spires, and it's called in-bottle finishing. Mm-hmm. So it's a different technique than finishing a whiskey in a new barrel or a used barrel. This is putting wood into the bottle, which is very interesting because
it's literally an oak spire.
Yeah, I mean it's spiral cut. It looks like it kind of looks like a spring, but it's soaked in whatever, or charred or toasted or whatever the technique is, and then they shove it in the bottle, put it out to market, and they say you're supposed to wait like 2 to 3 weeks, especially for these custom bottles. Yep. Supposed to wait like 2 to 3 weeks to allow those woods to really impact the whiskey, which the wood spires have a ton of surface area, so I think you're going to expect a lot of wood interaction, and if you like double oaked whiskeys, it's probably going to be a good representation.
Well, and I think what's really interesting is with this project in particular, they took something that we all are familiar with by now, and Nike kind of made it famous with the Nike ID, right? Mm-hmm. You go out to a website and you can customize your liquid. I think in today's age, when we talk about innovation, we've kind of moved into grain innovation, which is going to be really hard for brands like this to showcase. But what you can do is you can create innovation in finishing, and you can create innovation in flavoring, imparting different flavors. So like you go out there and you get a choice of a rye whiskey, a 4-grain, a 3-grain, mash bill. I think there's actually 4.
I think there was 4. I'm gonna have to pull it up because we'll just go to whiskey, the whiskey customizer, because it's really like an app.
Yeah,
I mean it's all intuitive. You just kind of go step by step. So
yeah. So while Scott's looking that up, so how is that similar to Nike ID? You're probably like, Jake, you're off base here. No, but I'm really not, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I don't think I'm off base here is because Nike ID, you can hit randomize, and it's going to give you some outputs that are things that you might like based upon previous purchases or your Nike profile, or you can create from scratch. They have the same similar techniques and technology here where you can, pick from one of their custom blends that they created, or you can start from scratch. You can literally pick every facet of the bourbon or the rye whiskey along the way. And that allows you to have a fully unique custom bottle to your experience. I think this is the next evolution of pour your own, right? Like that's what this is. It's like, hey, I poured my own, but now in addition to that, I've created my own finish. I've created my own experience within that pour your own bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently there's like 2,000 combinations.
Yeah. Some
math whiz can probably do the long division and all that stuff, but yeah, it's rye, it's a bourbon, a 4-grain bourbon, and a weeded bourbon. That's the one I forgot about, was the weeded bourbon. But yeah, so you start with your base spirit, and then the next step is to pick your proof.
Yep.
Which I think is brilliant. There are 2 options. One is 90 proof, so for those people that maybe not wanting cast strength, but then the other one is 114, which I would venture to guess is probably pretty close to cast strength of the base liquid, but heck, it could be all the way up to 125 or something like that too.
Yeah. Well, and I think having a 90 and a 114 approachable on both counts, you're going after the largest demographic from that flavor profile perspective. So 90 is probably the most common bourbon, proof. And then 114, you look at almost every iconic distillery, they have something in that 114. You have Old Granddad 114. You have, Russell's, or the Wild Turkey Barrel Proof, comes Rare Breed comes in around 114, 115. Most of the single barrels for makers are not single barrels. Most of the Maker's Mark cast strengths are in that, realm. So they're going after where the heritage brands, tackle the proof points. So after I've picked my proof point, where do I go? Yeah.
So then the next step is going to be picking the spire. So there's 2 options there: American oak or French oak. Which if I had to guess, I was guessing that you were going to go with French oak, but we'll see. So, we talk about it a lot, but American oak, very traditional. But then you've got French oak, which I tend to think is like more fragrant and floral, like less woody, and more perfumey. Sometimes I think French oak can taste kind of young. It's got like a little younger note to it, but other people say, well, that's just more character because it's more fragrant or floral or whatever.
Yeah, and I think French oak, what it does a lot of the times is it wakes up a spirit, right? Makes it more vibrant. So to say it a little more. To say the same thing differently, right? It takes a spirit and wakes it up in a different way. When you double oak something traditionally and back into American wood, it's going to pick up the same tannins, the same vanillins, the same traditional bourbon characteristics, which I would expect Scott Dilly to lean towards.
Traditional bourbon. Yes. Yeah, and I was thinking about that when I was, playing around with different recipes and things like that. I was like, do I want to just go with what I think I would go with? So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So after I've picked my stave and I've double oaked, where am I going now?
So we've picked the spire. Next, they will either not finish the spire, or they will infuse it with a host of different flavors. Yeah, rum, Cabernet. They've got different liqueurs. Crazy things like pineapple liqueur. Yeah. Which I think is pretty crazy, and then you got traditional ones like vanilla or honey. So your honey cask of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then that interesting one is that coffee.
Yeah.
Which they had a really good coffee.
I hate coffee, and it is excellent.
Yeah, but it's like it tastes like cold brew,
like sweet cold, like
sweet cold brew, but it's got a punch to it.
Yeah, it's like get that cold foam that Starbucks has become popular for. My wife drinks it, or used to drink it before she was pregnant, and I would smell it. It smelled like that, but it doesn't. But it has the bourbon overwhelms the coffee, so you're not getting like a coffee taste. You're getting like the aromatics of the coffee.
It's definitely a nose.
Yes.
It's more coffee forward on the nose, but there is a little lingering.
Yeah, but it's more the mocha, like dark chocolate notes. And those are the 4 pieces of the pie, right?
Yeah. So once you pick the finish or the infusion, you can also pick no infusion for those people that want super traditional.
Just a double oak.
The next step is customize your bottle by putting your name on it or somebody's name on it or, whatever, and, or naming it. If it's pretty interesting, you could come up with a creative name like they've done on their website for some of their blends.
Yeah. But this has been a great experience. Again, thank you to the Oak and Eden team. Now it's time to dive into the whiskeys here in front of us. Again, we don't know which ones either. We flipped them around backwards and put colors on them and said, let's figure this out. So Scott, before we start, can I have a little more green?
He must like that one a lot.
Well, it was the one that I just started drinking and then I didn't realize I was going to talk tasting notes. So Scott strategically turning the bottle away from him. Good, decent cork pop.
Decent, yeah.
And we got to make sure that Jake can't see, and he does a great job. And perfect.
Don't drop the bottle.
Don't drop the bottle.
All right, there's that.
Okay.
So I will say the color on the two is drastically different for them only been sitting here for, it's probably similar base whiskey, whatever, but
yeah,
whatever finishes these are, I think that's probably...
They're imparted.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this. Scott, you take green, and you'll kind of give us, your tasting notes, and I'll be like, yeah or no, and chime in, and then I'll start off with the pink label, and then you kind of chime in yes or no. How's that sound?
Works for me.
Okay, you're up first.
So the green one here on the nose has got like this like underlying like fruit, and it's kind of like a darker fruit. I'm not sure like if it's like cherry. I always say cherry, like raisins or something like that, like kind of raisiny, but it doesn't have like a big like spice punch to me. It's got some super traditional like vanilla. Like melted vanilla ice cream. Remove this pause for a second.
It's definitely an easy nose. It's got a little fruit forwardness. It's got some caramel, vanilla, very dessert-like.
Yeah, and I'm assuming what the base whiskey is, but it's not a craft whiskey. Yeah, it smells like a traditional bourbon or rye.
It's definitely column. It feels column still.
Yeah, it doesn't have that funk that we talk about. Like it smells like a clean whiskey. Tobacco, raisin.
It's like a fruity tobacco. It's almost like a flavored dip is kind of what it like tastes the smell. Like
sometimes I say like hookah.
Yeah.
Like it's got like a fruit. There's something fruity about it.
Yeah, it's definitely infused. You can tell there's fruit elements. Definitely with you on the darker raisin plum type of.
What do you think about proof?
I
think it's high. It's got a punch to it to me.
It does, but as you drink it more, I feel like you feel this one down in your chest a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit. I'm not going to say hug because it's a gentle chest, but it's a warming sensation down there.
For the first bourbon of the night, right?
Yeah, it's good. I'd say this is one of the 114s.
I think so too.
But I thought I had these pegged before we started doing this, and I don't know.
You're like, damn it, I like that one. I need a refill.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like this one. It's fun. Like it's got those traditional bourbon notes, but you got something fruity going on.
Yeah, it's nice. So we'll move over here to the pink one. So on the nose, I think this is big caramel, big caramel. with a little like zest of lemon or citrus.
See, I get like Werther's candy.
Yeah. And like the hard Werther's, not the soft ones. These are the ones you have to.
It takes a little time to.
You got to enjoy. You got to enjoy the candy a little bit. I'm not going to say suck on it.
This is not a explicit podcast.
No, this is not ASMR. But if I reach past that, there is a little more open fruit. Like I would say, there's a little apple to it. Like would be like an underlying like orchard, like an orchard note.
Do you think these are the same whiskeys? Like base whiskey?
Maybe.
That's a good. I mean, I don't think they are, because this one like tingles more on the tongue.
It does.
Like the tip of the tongue.
But I don't know if it's because of the spice, because of the wood spire.
That's a good question.
So this one, I think, is more fragrant. It's softer on the palate. It's not as punchy. I told you before the podcast, I think this tastes like a dusty whiskey, and people are gonna be like, explain that to me. Well, we are lucky enough, thanks to Jeff Hotmayer. We ran into him at Bardstown Bourbon Company while we were doing a podcast, and he shared a pour of the Chessman with us. One of the things I've noticed about dusty whiskeys are they're lower proof, obviously. I don't think this is lower proof, but they're lower proof and they've got some air into them. They've thinned out a little bit, and they kind of hit 1 to 3 notes. They're not hitting depth of flavor. This kind of hits 1 to 3 notes.
1 to 3 notes, super strong. It'll hit like, yeah.
Yeah. And so like, so I think this hits 1 to 3 notes and really kind of accentuates those. So what are the 1 to 3 notes? So I think it's very florally. I think it is floral with less caramel. I think the oak starts to shine.
Yeah. I get the bitter oak note.
And it finishes with like that faint caramel is just kind of all over the tongue.
The nose is like boom, straight caramel.
Yeah. The palate is less that. There's a tiny bit of fruit on this. It's nothing like the first one. The first one was a ton of fruit.
Yeah.
This one, it's really kind of like little bit of sweetness up front, a lot of bit of oak in the middle with that floral oak, and then soft caramel palate.
The interesting thing is both of these are kind of layered.
Yeah. They're definitely built on each other. Okay, so can you guess which one's which?
So are we saying, can we guess which one was ours?
Guess what? No, yeah.
Or guess what is, like, can we guess any of the common factors?
Okay, let's first go with this. Can you pick Jake's and can you pick Scott's?
I think I know which one is mine.
Okay, so I would assume yours is the green and mine is the pink.
Okay.
What would you say?
That's what I was leaning towards, knowing what mine was, for what my finish was.
Yeah.
Not knowing what yours is, I do think that the pink one, the second one we tasted, is French oak. And that's the only reason I think that's yours. Because that's like a quality like that I get with French oak.
Yeah. So I would agree.
So I would even say maybe French oak, no finish. But I don't know.
I do know what mine was finished in.
Okay, so it was finished.
Yes.
Mine was also finished.
Yeah, so I think yours is the regular oak stave. But the thing is, I think you didn't choose the weeded. I don't believe.
I gotta go back and look.
Well, we can pick the bottles up here in a second.
Yeah.
And so it was the weeded, the rye, and the 3 grain?
There was a rye whiskey, yes, a traditional bourbon, which I think is just rye. Yeah. There's a 4 grain, and then a weeded bourbon.
So I think you have the traditional bourbon, and because of the flavors, was there like a raspberry or a blackberry type finish?
There's a blackberry finish. And what else? What was the other one?
Is there another berry?
I think there might be.
Well, I'm just going to go blackberry.
Okay.
So I think you went traditional bourbon, American oak stave, blackberry finish, 114 proof. And Colonel Mustard. Did it in the library with the candlestick.
Library.
Definitely with the candlestick.
So now I've got to go back and I don't know where mine is. I'm trying to look through my email.
I have a picture of mine.
Because I didn't want to. I know it's on the bottle, but it's sitting across the room. So,
all right. So can you guess mine?
So, I think yours is either, which I think yours is pink.
Yes, I agree.
I think yours is pink. I think it's either the traditional bourbon, potentially. It's kind of throwing me off. Potentially the rye whiskey. The reason I think rye. We're probably going to have to remove some of these pauses, but
this is the fun of it.
A little citrus. I think yours is the rye whiskey, French oak rye whiskey. I think we definitely went 114 proof. So I'm going rye whiskey, 114 proof, French oak. Let's see the finishes. I think you finished it, but I literally cannot think of what it would be. We'd just say like honey. No, it's not honey.
Have I stumped the lawyer?
Is there? There's a vanilla, right?
There is a vanilla.
Okay, that's my guess. So vanilla, 114 rye whiskey, French oak.
And what character from Clue did it in what room?
I don't know. I haven't played Clue in forever. So you said it was Plum in the study? Okay, I would say Plum. Is it Professor Plum?
I think so.
Professor Plum in the. What's the option?
The kitchen? Bathroom?
Ooh, in the kitchen. Professor Plum in the kitchen. 114 rye whiskey, French oak, vanilla.
Okay. All right. So.
Oh, God.
4-grain bourbon.
Yours?
Yep. Orange finished.
Orange.
Oak spiral. Oak spiral. French oak, 114.
Okay, so I got 2 out of 4.
All right.
Did I get your name right? Did you put Jake on the?
I did. I put Jake Llewellyn.
Okay, good. I got that part right.
Yeah.
4 grain. That's interesting. I don't.
So I think the wheat part of that really mellows out the whiskey.
Very interesting. Okay, so you want to know mine?
Yeah. What is yours? We had them right. We both picked the.
We did pick whose was whose. So mine is bourbon.
Boom.
The traditional bourbon, so rye mash. American oak.
Shocker.
It is 114.
Mine was 114.
And it is infused with a blackberry liqueur soaked oak spiral.
I pulled that out of my ass. I literally pulled blackberry out of my ass.
It's definitely fruity.
The only reason why I had blackberry on the mind is because we've eaten a lot of blackberries at the house lately. And I hadn't eaten a blackberry in a long time because I don't like them because they're kind of seedy and grainy.
Oh, yeah.
And I ate one.
The flavor's better.
The
texture of the...
So I had just eaten blackberries like 2 days ago. The only reason that like kind of note stuck out to me.
Orange liqueur.
So the reason I went orange was because I wanted to see how much I could bump that rye up and then how much the French oak would cut it.
Yeah, see, I think the French oak just kind of throws me off in general because it kind of got me like spicy, tingly on the tongue.
Yep.
That's why I was thinking maybe rye whiskey, but interesting.
No, I think it's definitely an interesting thing. This is a ton of fun. I hope more people do this.
It's pretty cool. And here's the deal. I think it goes from like 59 to 79.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your proof.
Yep.
I think that's the
90 proof versus the 114.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really cool idea. Go over to oakandeden.com. Check out the whiskey customizer. Build your own bottle just in time for Father's Day. Great gift idea. Have fun with it. Maybe build a couple bottles. Then you could really have a fun tasting.
Yeah, you got 2,000 chances to make something crazy or
do something crazy.
You might screw it up, but I don't think I bet it's kind of hard to screw it up.
I think it'd be hard to screw it up. You can try Jake's combination, which is again the 4-grain, 114 proof French oak with the orange liqueur spiral, or you can try Scott's if you want to give that a whirl. Again, that is the Oak and Eden blackberry and soaked traditional bourbon, 114 proof American oak spiral. So thank you so much, Oak and Eden, for the opportunity to try this and build our own bottle. I don't think either of these are going to last very long. Super great for summer and a lot of fun. So thank you again for listening to this episode of Bourbon Lens. We truly appreciate it. If you do us a favor, go over to your favorite podcast listening app and hit subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate that. And leave us a review if you feel so inclined. Last but not least, if you are interested in learning more about us, go over to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. Or if you want to go and join our growing Patreon community, we'd gladly welcome you at patreon.com/Bourbon Lens. And we will see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.